Welcome back, folks. Today we're gonna be checking out Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 because I've been waiting for this game for a very long time. I initially played Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 when it was released, and for me it was one of the better, or probably even one of the best RPGs I've ever played, because I did enjoy having that medieval life and the gameplay formula they had in the first game. Now in the sequel they basically took the formula and everything which made the original game so good, and they elevated it further while fixing and polishing all of the problems and issues that people were talking about before, as well as adding new things into the game and pretty much streamlining combat to be a bit more responsive and I wouldn't say easier to fight, but a bit more, how would I say, intuitive to fight, because now when you're fighting, especially at start, for people who haven't played the game, I think they're going to figure it out a bit better than they did in the first game, because the first game didn't really give you no chill in that area. Like, if you were fighting immediately at start, you were pretty much going to die. And that's also the case with KCD 2, because if you overstep and you fight multiple opponents, if you're not careful, you're gonna be battered into the ground quite fast. So I'm not gonna be spoiling anything story-wise. The footage you are seeing is going to be from basically the start of the game, but I will be skipping all of the relevant cutscenes that might spoil the story. But overall, being that this is a sequel to the first game, the story is going to continue, and Henry and hence Capon are back, and they have to work together to basically sort some things out, because, well, as it is with KCD1, the story has many twists and turns that are gonna be happening as you explore and do missions, and you're gonna be standing there saying like, oh, okay, that just happened because, well, it just did. Now, going back to the RPG segment of the game, to be honest, this is probably how an RPG should be made, because every single choice, every single decision you make when you talk to people, depending on what you're wearing, depending if you washed yourself and so on, is going to result in different outcomes, and you have to be really careful what you're gonna be doing, because, well, once you do something, there is no going back. Because when it comes to saving, they pretty much retained what KCD1 was doing. So for example, if you sleep in your own bed, you're gonna be able to save the game. The game is going to auto-save during missions, and of course you can use savior snaps to quick save, but obviously those things are limited, especially at the beginning, mostly to prevent saves coming, because if this is an RPG and the choice you make, you kinda have to live with it, which is something I really do enjoy, because games like Kenshi, for example, that I played in the past, give me that ability, which I actually feel now in KCD2. When it comes to combat, the game pretty much still retains that realistic feeling and way you were gonna be fighting with swords or other weapons to make it realistic as much as they can in a video game environment. And to be honest, it is a bit more streamlined than before, especially when it comes to animations and how people respond to you, but it is still very much unforgiving, because if you just start swinging around, you're going to lose your stamina, and ultimately you're going to be, as I said, clobbered down to the ground relatively fast, especially at the beginning where you don't even have any proper armor or a sword. So my advice if you're playing this game is really try to find a good sword at start, preferably with a shield, because at least if you're new to this game, it's going to be a bit easier for you to defend with a shield rather than just using a long sword or something like that until you get the hang of it. But blocking and basically countering here is extremely important. If you don't do it, you're going to have a harder time fighting enemies. And it's kind of the same when it comes to ranged weapons. They have also been refined. That means, you know, going from bows, crossbows to boomsticks. Now, when it comes to bows themselves, they work a bit differently in KCD2 than they did in 1, because now when you actually, you know, want to fire a bow, it's going to center in the middle of the screen, so it's going to be a bit easier for you to shoot something than it was in the previous game, but still it can be difficult because, well, there is no crosshair, so you have to really pay close attention how you shoot. So my advice is always to go and practice, because this is an RPG and the best way to get around it is to basically practice and get the feel of it. So going into a forest to hunt now is going to be even more enjoyable, and that's something I did immediately in the game. Like, some of the first things I did is that I needed groschen, so what I started doing is I collected herbs and I started making potions because I can sell those potions for, more money. And potion crafting is going to be the same as it was in the, previous game. It's going to be very detailed to the point where you have to be very careful on how you brew the potion, because if you don't, you're going to ruin it, the recipe, and you're not going to get the potion you want. So, like last night, I spent about probably 2 hours just crafting potions. Because if you invest more perk points in it, you're gonna be getting more potions and you're gonna be selling that for good amount of money. So if you want gear, weapons, etc., just do that. Trust me, it's going to be a huge win. And also, by using that money, I bought a bow and I started hunting in the forest. Now, I'm gonna lie, like, first time I got attacked by a pack of wolves, I got absolutely demolished, but the second time I came back, I started killing some game, and guess what? I got some meat that I could sell later on. Now, of course, because, well, this is the middle century, it also means that the king has all of the rights for the game which you're gonna be hunting. So technically, you can only be hunting rabbits and wolves. Everything else is pretty much poaching because it doesn't belong to you. But you can even do that and then sell that meat later on to someone else without me spoiling it, to make money. So that's what I like about this game, because it really puts you in this medieval life where you can go and just craft stuff and be useful and just make money doing that way. I wasn't even focusing on any like quests whatsoever. And guess what? They finally have blacksmithing in KCD2, because that was probably one of the most requested things like from the first game. Like, I remember people asking like what's gonna be happening with like blacksmithing and making swords and other stuff, which wasn't possible in the first game. But now they did it, and to be honest, the process is also quite fun because it's very methodical. You have to heat up like the metal, then you have to go hit it with a hammer in a certain way, then reheat it and so on. So for me, like personally, these sort of titles and this sort of gameplay formula is something I really enjoy, because when I think of an RPG, when I think of a RPG/sandbox in a sense, this is what I kinda imagine, because even though you have some rules of the world, you're pretty much free to explore and do what you want and talk to these people, because you never know what you might end up running into. Characters as well are still a lot of fun, because regardless of who you meet, you're gonna be getting people with like different ideas of the world and different things which are bothering them depending on who you're talking to, either going from a lowly beggar to even a lord. I also like how they did the aggro of NPCs, basically meaning on top you can see like this image of a rabbit, and it's going to tell you like what people think about you. So for example, if you enter someone's house, some NPC is going to be curious and they're going to say, well, why don't you leave my house? And you can actually see that with the icon up top. And as NPCs get more aggressive, that icon up there is going to also like start going orange, then it's going to become red. So I like it because it makes sense how NPCs react to you. If you get too close, they're gonna say like, why are you close to me? Like, what's happening? So it kind of makes sense from that almost making them alive in that sense, to really sell you that formula of an RPG where you're just walking throughout the city and everybody is, around you, everybody is like a part of something. So it's going to feel like they are alive, that they're a part of that space, rather than you getting close to them and then pretty much ignoring you. So I really like that segment. One thing which also surprised me a lot was the performance. So first off, graphically, when it comes to CryEngine, I think KCD2 looks absolutely gorgeous in CryEngine. I am surprised how well this looks, especially on how it runs, because I saw those like system requirements for PC and I was like, oh man, there is no way I'm gonna be able to run this game properly because I have 3070 Ti. There is no way to buy 50 series GPUs right now because they're out of stock, and they're gonna be out of stock for quite some time, weeks, even months before this thing normalizes. But when I got into it, to be honest, the game was running great. I really did not have any issues, I did not have any frame drops. The only problems I can maybe think of is, for example, some textures not loading properly in the distance. Probably has to do something with the LOD itself, and maybe sometimes I've seen like an NPC, like two NPCs standing on top of each other. But when it comes to frame rate, when it comes to general optimization, it is running incredibly well on my rig. And the gameplay you're seeing right now is pretty much everything on high, so on that sense I am really happy, to be honest, because I think CryEngine proved in a sense, or well, the engine itself proved to be capable of creating something like this, that it runs well and at the same time can, service all of the features and, formulas for gameplay that developers want. So far I haven't had a single crash in this game for about 10 hours that I've been playing, and that's incredibly important because when you have a game like this which doesn't have like quick save, it's really important that it doesn't crash. So in that sense, I'm really surprised, but maybe not too much because they finished this game a while back. I mean, people who had review copies had about a month to cover the game, which is unprecedented ever that happens. Like, I haven't reviewed a single game in the past where developers said you have a whole month to play the game. Usually it's going to be 1 week, 2 weeks if you are super lucky. So it just seems that this is a well-managed project, where they had enough time to work on everything. Now, there's probably some, glitches and bugs that need to be sorted out in future updates, but that would be just nitpicking. Overall, KCD2 is an absolute masterclass, if you ask me. It's a creme de la creme when it comes to RPG games, and if you were looking for a sandbox open world RPG set in the, Middle Ages in a sense, the 1500s, then definitely go and check this one out. Now, of course, these were just first impressions of the game based on 10 hours of me playing it. When I actually go through it more, I will have a proper review and I will have more videos about this game because I think I'm gonna be covering this for a very long time, just on how much I enjoy it and for how long I was looking forward to an RPG like this. So that would be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will again have a more detailed video once I play more throughout it, and of course expect some guides, lore pieces and so on as usual, and once they release some new patches I will talk about them as well. This is LKM signing out. Tell me down below in the comments, what do you think about this game so far? Have you been enjoying it? And what is your opinion about, just segments of it, gameplay formulas, RPG formula and so on, and what things maybe you don't like? Just let me know down below. As always, don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Discord, and huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out, and I will see you very soon with a new KCD2 video. Bye bye.